All right, welcome to today's class on Introduction to Data Management and Governance. Today's world where data is created exponentially, like the rate at which data it's being created is very exponential. Companies are beginning to make the most out of their data, whereas some companies are not interested, have not started pushing to make the most out of your data. Some companies that have started making the most out of their data, have started using data to make informed decisions, actually do have a structured way of doing things with their data, structured way or a standard way of doing things. Whereas some who are actually analyzing their data don't necessarily have a structured way of doing things. They don't have any business rules in place. Today, we're going to go through what data management is and data governance and the importance in today's company. We're going to go through some simple historic some historic event about data management and governance, and then we will talk about what is obtainable today. And then finally, we will end it up with explaining how to build a data governance framework. So let's hop in. Data management. Data management is the art of first collecting data, storing data, collecting data, storing data, processing, and utilizing data in a structured and efficient way to support organizational objectives. All right, so I hear some of us thinking or having noting this thought. Okay, so if data governance management is the art of collecting, storing, processing, and utilizing data in a structured and efficient way to support organizational objective, what is then data analysis? I thought that's almost the definition of data analysis. Yes, it is almost the definition. However, the data analysis is like a bigger picture which that encompasses data management in it. Now, data management really helps you to understand the standard that needs to be put in place to ensure your data makes the most, you make the most out of your data. So it involves data quality, data accessibility, and data usability, while maintaining its integrity throughout its life cycle. So the thing about the data we have, organizations have, is that some don't really make the most out of their data, but to make the most, to implement data management in your system, you will need to ensure that the data is of utmost quality, the data is accessible to who needs to access it, and the data is usable. When we talked about data quality, we talked about data being complete and correct. When we talk about accessibility, we're talking about allowing us the right access to everyone, to people, to professionals according to their roles. When we talk about usability, your data needs to be clean. Your data needs to be in a format that it can actually be used. So data management ensures this rules are put in place. This data is properly managed. And to properly manage them, these things need to be put in place. Data need to be collected. When it's being collected, it also need to be stored somewhere. After storing it, you need to process it and utilize it in a structured and efficient way. The whole aim is to support organizational objective. And when you bring this data, store and process and utilize it, you need to ensure that it is of utmost quality. It needs, after storing it, it needs to be accessible to professionals based on their roles or the authorization given to them. And it needs to also be in a format that is usable for meaningful insights. On the other way, what is data governance? So this involves the establishment of policies, standards, and processes to ensure effective data management. Now, look at it. Data management has to do with collecting, storing, processing, and utilizing data, ensuring data quality, accessibility, and usability. The rules, whereas data governance has to do with the rules, policies, and standards that ensures effective data management. When you're trying to manage data, there has to be some rules on ground. And these rules is what we call, to effectively manage this data, is what we call data governance. And it encompasses defining responsibilities, rules, and procedures for managing the data asset, because company's data is actually an asset, while ensuring that compliance, security, and accountability. These are standards that need to be put in place. So as a data analyst, you find yourself in an organization, you notice that the data is here and there. Truth is, to make your work easy and effective, you also need to make sure that data is accessible whenever you want to access it. So you need to start implementing data management and governance in that organization. Start ensuring that everywhere the data is stored, everywhere the data is collected from, that is the OLTP, every source of data is recognized. Merely you are able to recognize all the sources of data. The next thing is you want to create a system. You want to create a tool that moves all the sources of data to a centralized place. You could call that a data warehouse. When you move it to that place, it becomes easier for you to give access role to this data, to the persons that are supposed to access this data. And when you move it to that place, first of all, you're ensuring that this data is accessible, and then you have to clean it and ensure it is of utmost quality. So there can be a stage. You can have like 2 stages if you want, where you have, this could be data lake, where you have raw data. Where you have raw data. And then you can also have the other data lake or another stage where you have cleaned data. And that's where we'll talk about data quality. So you are able to collect this data, you store it somewhere, and then you clean this data and give us this level of data and make it accessible to everyone that needs to use it. Because a clean data enhances quality insight, a reliable insight. So those policies, standards you put, processes that enables you to create this data management is what we call data governance. And when we talk about policies, standard procedures, so one of the policies could be, we have a data pipeline. All right. So this could be the data sources. Could be different data sources. Different data sources. You want all of them. You said the standard we need to put in place, or the policies we need to put in place, that all the data we have from all our data sources, we need to be sent to this data lake every week. You want it to be sent to this data lake every week. And when it's sent to this data lake, you want to standardize this data. You want to convert, or you want it to be in a particular standard. So when it's sent here, you could say, okay, it's sent the way they are. This could be CSV, TSV, this could be Excel, but you want it from here, after standardizing it, you want it to be in a package format, or you want to maintain the CSV, or the method it comes, this CSV is not even it's not a UTF. So you want to standardize it to be in UTF-8. You standardize it. These processes, these rules you put in place, it's called data governance. These rules you put in place, it's called data governance. When you do this, then you will be able to, by doing this, when this data comes from here to here, you could choose to give rule, okay, Kingsley, you're in charge of ensuring that this data is standardized from here and claimed to this place. And then we can also have a data engineer or a data analyst who will come to this clean data and sources data directly to their own reports. Now you have been able to define roles. And while you're doing this, you ensure compliance. Everyone will need to be in compliance with the standard data rules, data protection rules out there, depending on your location. Everyone needs to ensure that this data is secured, and everyone will need to be accountable for the data. So when you look at these things, you find yourself in a company, you say, okay, for me to effectively and efficiently do my work, we will need to implement data governance and management. And you already have a process, you already have a framework you want to use to implement it. You will go ahead and start implementing. As soon as you're giving the nod, you start implementing it. And when you implement it, trust me, it will be in your name. Fatima implemented data governance in our company. That is one of the first developments she brought into the company. That is the first initiative she brought into the company, data governance. And since then, our data has been properly managed. Imagine the beauty of it. All right, so let's go on. We have a lot to cover. If you have any question, go ahead, please. All right, so move on. Importance of data governance and management in a modern organization. The number one importance is decision making. Data management and governance enables informed decision making. It does this by providing accurate, timely, and relevant insight to support strategic and operational choices. Decision making is the number one importance of data management and governance in modern organizations, in modern businesses. The next one is compliance. So earlier I talked about compliance, security and compliance. When we talk about compliance, we're talking about the the relevant rules that are out there. Things like the GDPR, the CCPA, the NDPR, different companies or different economies have their own data protection rules. So with the increase in the complexity of data privacy regulations, data governance ensures organizations adhere to legal requirements, minimizing risk associated with non-compliance. So now, by implication, when you find yourself in an organization, it becomes your duty to ensure that data governance is implemented. And part of the things you're going to implement is compliance to the relevant rules. You will be implementing compliance to the relevant rules. If anyone accesses data online, and it's using it for presentation, you want to ensure that they reference the owners of this data. If they want to, they need to not reference, they need to credit the owners of this data. You have a website that is built. This website stores cookies. You need to tell the users that, are you happy for us to store that this website stores cookie? Are you happy to continue? If they say yes, they're happy to store your cookies, their cookies, and these cookies are just like storing it's just as simple as storing your activities, so that when you come back to use it, it will recognize you quickly and take you to the right place, the place where you last visited or you often visit. So data governance, compliance, data governance personnel helps implement these things in an organization so that you will abide by the rules. Another thing is another importance is operational efficiency. So efficient data management practices streamlines processes, also reduces redundancy and improve overall operational efficiency, which leads to cost saving and improved performance. So being a data governance person, a professional, you are already in to help your business, your company become efficient in their operations. You're in to save them money. You may not help them maximize their profit, but at least you can help them save money. You can help them save money. So that's part of the things you do as a data governance professional or as a data professional. So let's talk about how far data governance has gone. Historical context and evolution of data management practices. The early years. Those days, organizations use manual processes for data storage and management, often which leads to inconsistencies and inefficiency. Yes, ABS, go ahead and ask your question.
Sorry to interrupt you. There are sites that when you open, for instance, you see them, you like accept cookies. Like, why does that pop up? Is it because of their compliance or something, or they have a rule in their company that, oh, you have to accept the cookies? And so what does that mean? Is it that when you accept the cookies, it shows somewhere that, oh, your details have been captured, that so person visited that website?
No, it's not going to take your details as a person. However, if you actually input your details, it will save it. It will likely capture it. So what really happens is cookies are just like the same way Google and the big companies listen to your conversations. Google and cookies just like saying, we save cookies. We save your activities. Everything you are doing, we are actually saving them at least temporarily, not like we're saving them permanently, but we are saving them. So we use cookies.
Okay.
We are saving them so that when you come next, it will, because cookies are beautiful. Trust me. They enhance user experience. So imagine yourself going to Amazon, you browse everything you want to browse. The next time when you want to go to that Amazon, if it's not for a long, if you've not been away for a long time, it could actually take you directly to that site where you that particular link where you consistently go to. That's the website saving cookies for you. This enhances user experience. But truth is, not everyone wants you to save their activity. That is why we have data protection rules there, saying you need to ask these people whether they want their data to be, their information to be stored, their activities to be stored. If they don't want it, give them that option to choose whether they want or not. If they don't want it, please don't save it. If they want it, you can go ahead and save it. That's what that's what the cookies does. And it's because of this that the rules that the GDPR is out there to protect. And the GDPR is like the standard in the world right now. Are we good?
Yes, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So before now, organizations utilize manual processes for data storage and management, which often leads to inconsistencies and inefficiency. So, I don't, how we used to be in the bank, not just in Nigeria, but it's almost there in every place. So you open your account in Abuja, let's say in Asokoro, Abuja, you open your account there. They will open a physical account. They will have a physical record for you. They will have a physical record for you. Now, if there's anything that happens, and when this data becomes so much, when this file becomes so much, what happens? They move this file and go to store them somewhere. So they could just arrange them they could arrange them by year, they could arrange them by region. They just know how they arrange these files that when you go to some bank, you see the files piled up everywhere. They know how they arrange it so that they can easily access them. And this is what they have been doing for decades before data starts, imploding every now and then, before we have the .com boom everywhere. So that's how they store and manage data in those days. And then from that storing and managing data in papers and files somewhere in an office or moving them around everywhere from one location to another location in the name of regional office or state office, we move to database era. So in the database era, the emergence of database and structured query language improved data organizations' accessibility. So what we have is an easier way to, so imagine when you go there and you say you want to access your data, what you get is going through files or files before they access your data. But today, they only need to, after then, they only need to just open their computer and your detail, it's in their database, and they will just pull it out and they will tell you everything about you, or answer your question, or tell you the stage of your account opening. And that is the database era. And here we have the big data revolution. So we have the explosion of data volume, which led to the need so as data began to increase, use of tools began to improve. You go to bank, some bank open on its own. You go to bank, you are able to use ATM. You are able to self-serve yourself. So many activities began to happen around the bank. The data they generate on a daily basis become so much for this their database to manage. And that became need for scalability. There became need for scalability. Scalability means we want to expand. There became need for us to expand. And this is because of the revolution of big data. The data they have become so enormous, so big that to they need to expand, they need to scale their services. And to be able to do this, we have the to be able to do this, they start going for big data solutions to be able to manage their activities. And what is the current trend here? We have advancement in AI, machine learning, and cloud technologies. These things are reshaping data management practices. So we move from early stages of paper and files and folders to databases. And what really happened to all these databases? The reality of what happened is this papers, file system, and folder system were actually imported into into the computers, into the database. That's why you still see files and folders in your computers. And then from the database era, we have the revolution. Data becomes so big for the little databases to manage. And then we start seeing the revolution expanded such that we start having the cloud infrastructure, being able to give you as much data as you want. So when this data began to expand, organizations began to build bigger infrastructure to be able to accommodate the data they have. But sometimes, so what happened is, because they might be anticipating 1 million users per day, they decided to go for 1 million or database that can handle 1 million transactions per day. Now, if this does not happen, or there became a few months when it goes down to like 100,000, they will still continue to use the 1 million capacity, but that's like a waste of resources. And that is where we have cloud infrastructure that say, take as much as you want, pay as much as you want. And if your data become so big that you need more resources, our system will expand, will scale to accommodate the data that you need. And that is why you see companies are going cloud. That's why you hear about cloud, the big data revolution. Have you been able to manage big data? That's what they will keep asking you. And what you need to tell them is yes. Because this is something you'll be doing every now and then. And then from there, as the data becomes so much, we began to see the era of machine learning and AI, because machine learning and AI thrives where there is a lot of historical data. If there was not enough data out there, then the machine learning and AI will not be able to do well, will not be able to perform well. That's why today we have AI everywhere, we have machine learning everywhere, because we have big data. We have big data out there. So we can actually do great things with the data we have. We can recreate ourselves. And that's where machine learning and AI come to play. So let's move on. And what are the key objectives of data management? The main key objectives are to improve data quality, to ensure accuracy, completeness, consistency, and reliability, which in turn will support informed decision making. So, number one key objective is improving data quality. This will ensure data accuracy, completeness, consistency, and reliability, which will in turn support informed decision making. That's the number one objective of data management. The next is to ensure security. Data need to be protected. You need to protect data from unauthorized users and ensure that data confidentiality and integrity is well captured. That's another important thing about data management. The next is the regulatory compliance, which we have talked about. So you need to adhere to legal requirements and industry standards to help mitigate risks associated with non-compliance. You need to ensure that these things are taken care of. All right, let's move on. Data life cycle and the importance of each phases. Do we have any question? All right, so let's move on. So first, the first stage of data lifecycle is data collection. You could also hear the word data injection. So the first stage is data collection, which involves gathering raw data from disparate sources. And this is the most important foundation for all the stages of data lifecycle. It ensures availability of diverse data for analysis. Data collection ensures availability of diverse data for analysis. The next stage is you get this data, you have to store it. Where are you keeping it? So you can have things like your database. You have like your data lake. Data warehouses. So transforming raw data, storing collected data securely and efficiently is very, very important. This will ensure accessibility and protection towards the data from any data loss. The next method is data processing, which is transforming raw data into usable format for analysis. This stage, all you need to do is after storing this data, you transform this data into usable format for analysis. Hence, the next stage, analysis, which is where you examine data to extract meaningful insights. Go through your data, examine it to extract meaningful insight from it. And from here, when you are done, there's also what we call disposal, which is properly removing outdated or unnecessary data. So when you properly remove outdated or unnecessary data, it reduces clutter, improves efficiency, and, and ensures compliance with data privacy. Understand this does not equate to deleting data. As data professional, we don't delete data. Historical data is important to us. We need all the data. But you need to have a place to store all this data so that when you want to access, you access the one that is relevant to what you're doing. Take note, we don't delete data as data professional. What I mean is you don't go to database, to the company database and say, all right, this company has been existing for the past 50 years. And most of our new premier customers are all dead. So let's delete their data. No, you can't do that. That's wrong. So you have to, the worst you can do is to archive it. You need to archive that data. At least in this UK, you can keep it up to 100 years. The much I know, you're allowed to keep it, especially in the healthcare, up to 100 years, and then you can delete them. All right. So please take note of that. It's very important. So you don't go and delete. However, you don't go and delete company's data. However, if you have access to its data, if you have access to a data or a company's data, please, when you're done with that company or that business, when you are done, delete. If they say delete their data, please delete their data. Don't fall into that temptation of keeping their data anywhere. Ensure that you delete their data completely. When you delete it, you clear your system. And you need to have a form of formal request to delete this data. Ensure you completely clear their data. It's in your own interest. Please, you don't have business with their data. You're done doing that business with them. Delete all their data, please. All right, so let's move on. This is the data lifecycle stages. The importance of each phase. Next is strategies for maintaining data quality and integrity. First is data cleansing techniques, and second is data assessment method. So for the data cleansing techniques, you need to identify and rectify inaccuracies, inconsistencies, and duplicates within data sets. And when you're done noticing those things, so what really happens is you find a data, you're able to remove the duplicates, you remove the redundancy, you remove the, what's it called? The missing values if you're asked to, if need be. When you are done removing them, what really happened is, if this system is not automated, when a similar data set comes, you will need to repeat this method. When a similar data set comes, you will repeat the same method in cleaning them. You will still repeat the same method in cleaning them so that this one will append to this one. Append means joining it from the bottom. But that's not an efficient way. And that is what we'll talk about, automating the process. So the steps you use to clean this is the step you will use to clean this after 1 week or 2 months or 1 month. After a certain period of time, they will keep coming and you will keep repeating what you're doing, you will keep cleaning them. These things are not efficient because you're going to be, you at some point make mistakes, and that will put a huge question mark on the quality of the data. So what do? You automate the processes. You need to automate the processes. The method you use in getting this, you implement it, when you append, so in place like Power Query, after doing this, after profiling this, cleaning it up, doing all you need to do to standardize it, you save it. The formula, all the formulas you use in achieving this will be saved. you will load, when you load it your data, your Power Query, Power BI, it will save. When you get another one, what really happened is you will go and hit, you don't need to rewrite that formula again. You go and hit the refresh button. When you hit the refresh button, it will do all the, even if it's 10,000 formula, it will perform it on all the new data set that comes in. And after performing it, it will attach it to the existing data sets. And automatically you will see the report. You will see the changes on your dashboard. You will see the changes on your dashboard. And that's how beautiful this thing is. The changes will just show on your dashboard. Just one, you just only need to clean only one data set, prepare it, then you save it. As long as you use Power Query, when you come, you click on refresh button. When you come with a new data, you upload it and click on refresh button. As soon as you click on refresh button, it will perform those same formula on the new data set, and you will have a clean data within a few minutes. And you're happy, you move on. So that's what we mean by cleaning technique. So use automated tools for standardization, validation, and enrichment of data. One of them is Power Query, which we will learn in a course of learning Excel and Power BI. We will learn it, and you will be happy you did. So the next is quality assessment and assessment method. So you need to improve data profiling. I've told you about data profiling to assess data quality metrics such as completeness, accuracy, consistency, and timeliness. Timeliness is a very important part of it. If your data does not, if your report, your dashboard does not refresh on time, you may miss, the business might miss out on important detail or important updates before it finishes refreshing. So it needs to be timely. And part of the strategy is to conduct regular audits and validation check to maintain data integrity and pipeline. So regularly, you see where people are called when you see some job out there, they will say you will be monitoring and maintaining data pipeline. That's what we are talking about. You'll be monitoring and maintaining data pipeline. Some people's job is to maintain data pipeline to see where if the pipeline fails, they quickly check what the error log is and fix it. So quality assessment method is one of the techniques to ensure data quality and integrity. And another thing is also data visibility. It needs to also be visible. All right, so let's move on. Please go ahead and ask questions if you need to ask, if you are confused.
Yeah, please. You said the quality assessment method is used to ensure data quality, integrity, and visibility, if I'm not mistaken. What about the one for data cleansing technique?
That's why I explain it. You need to be able to identify and rectify inaccuracies, inconsistencies, and duplicate data sets. And one of the method, and the next thing is also when you rectify all these things, that means you have prepared your data. But you can keep repeating them over and over again for every new data set that comes. You can keep repeating them manually. So part of the technique says, instead of repeating them manually, use automated tools for standardization, validation, and enrichment of the data. One of those is Power Query. Another one is Excel macro. The other one is data prep. Data prep is a Google product. These are Excel macro is not a profiling tool, but Power Query and data prep are profiling tools, which we are going to learn Excel and Power Query. We are not learning data prep because it's Google products, and that's not the tools we're learning here. So yes, that's it from data cleansing techniques. Are we good?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so let's move on to. So earlier I explained data governance. So I explained data governance earlier. Say it refers to the overall management of the availability, usability, integrity, and security of an organization's data assets. It also involves establishment of policies, standards, and procedures to ensure effective and efficient data management across the enterprise. So all the data management you want to implement in an organization should have rules, policies, standards, and procedures that govern them. And this will help for data availability, usability, integrity, and security. What gives you that is data governance. So to the act of effectively managing the act of effectively implementing data management policies in an organization, it's called data governance. Please let's take note of that. So in data governance, we have policies, rules. We have policies, rules, and procedures. Policies are set of guidelines and objectives for data management, outlining the expected behaviors and practices. So that's what policies are. Set of guidelines and objective for data management, set of guidelines and objectives for data management. That's what policies are. And rules are the specific regulations and constraints governing data usage. The set of specific regulations and constraints that govern data usage. That's what the rules are in this situation. And the other one is the procedures, which are the detailed steps and processes to implement policies and rules effectively. Detailed steps and processes to implement policies and rules effectively. It's what we call the procedure. So we have the policies, the rules, and the procedures. The policies are guidelines and objectives for data management. The rules are specific regulations and constraints. Specific regulations and constraints governing data usage, whereas the procedure are the detailed steps and processes to implement policies and rules effectively. These are roles in establishing policies, rules, and procedures in data governance. So the next is identifying stakeholders and their roles. Yes, we're back to stakeholders. So these are the stakeholders and roles in data governance. I don't know if you have heard about the word data steward. So This person is responsible for overseeing specific sets of data, ensuring adherence to data governance policies, and maintaining data qualities. So this person could just be pulled from, let's say, the marketing department, and made the data steward in marketing department. We could get someone from the thing is that the company does not necessarily need to employ new person to implement all these things. If you are the data professional and you understand how to implement this, all you need to do is implement it and give roles to people. You go to the marketing department, or the sales department, you get someone who has knowledge of data literacy and fluency, and you make the person a data steward. This person will be responsible for overseeing specific sets of data. They ensure that these data adhere to the governance policies and maintain data integrity or data quality. That this person ensure that the data governance rules you have put in place in the company is actually being enforced in that unit. And you can have them, if you have 10 departments, you can have data steward in 10 places. They will ensure that these things are implemented. And you could have your meeting regularly to discuss the challenges you have in implementing data governance and management in the company. The next is the data owner. This person holds accountability for specific data domains, determining access rights and ensure data security and compliance. So you want to access sales data as a data analyst. You will need to, for a big organization, you will need to be given that authorization. We call that dependency. So your ability to access this data is dependent on on things like people like the project owners, the project sponsors, or the product owners. They will give you that authorization, and this could be head of sales, head of business intelligence, head of IT, head of IT. These people need to give you authorization. They are the data owner. Data owners are these people who are in charge, who are placed in charge of this data in their respective company or the respective department. These are called data owners, as they are are responsible for anything that happens to the data. So the next we have is the Data Governance Council and Committee. All right. I know you're thinking this is so serious. This is really a huge government, a huge government organization. So this group of people oversees and governs the overall data governance framework, making strategic decisions and resolving conflicts. So can you see how others revolve around them? They ensure that they govern the overall data governance framework. They implement it, they govern it, they ensure that it is up to date, consistent, and every issue is resolved during that meeting. That's what they call Data Governance Council or Committee. The next role we have is the IT and security team. And this team implements and maintains technical aspects of data governance policies. And they ensure data security measures are in place. That's what IT and security team does. And the business users and analysts are responsible for utilizing data according to governance policies and contributing to data quality improvements. All right. So that's the job of a business user. This person is responsible, or these people are responsible for utilizing data according to governance policies, and they also contribute to the quality of the data and the improvements. All right, let's move on. So this next is steps to Steps to formulate and implement effective data governance policies. All right, so the first is assessment and planning. First, you need to assess current data management practices in the organization. You need to identify gaps. You can use gap analysis to identify gaps. You need to define governance objectives aligned with organizational goals. And then you need to develop a roadmap outlining the steps and timelines for implementing data governance. Develop roadmaps outlining the steps and timelines for implementing data governance. Now, the next, after that, policy, that you start developing the policy. You need to create clear and concise data governance policies, defining roles, responsibilities, and expectations. You define roles, responsibilities, and expectations. Align policies with regulatory requirements and industry best practices. Next is implementation and communication. You deploy policies and procedures across the organization, ensuring clear communication and training for stakeholders. Then establish mechanism for ongoing monitoring and enforcement of policies. So you still remember the rules. These are the people that will help in ensuring the implementation and communication is efficient. All right, so emphasis on accountability, compliance, and risk management. So you need to foster a culture of accountability for assigning clear responsibilities to stakeholders for data management tasks. You need to ensure policies that comply with legal and regulatory requirements, and then implement risk management strategy to identify and mitigate potential data-related risk. And it's very, very important. All right. Best practices. Best practices for ensuring data security. So first, you need to give access control. That is what we call, you have to implement role-based access control. Role-based access control. All right, so can I abbreviate it as RBAC, role-based access control, to restrict data access based on job roles. So you do not want a financial analyst who analyzes financial data to come to find themselves in HR to analyze people data. They don't have business doing this. Or finding themselves in marketing to analyze all the marketing campaign. And even if they have to do, the marketing head will need to give that authorization. So that's what we call role-based access control. So you could find yourself in an organization where you will be given access to only a specific set of data. You'll be given access to a specific table, table 1, and then you're not given access to table 2. So here you're denied access, here you're given access. These are things you're going to see in the organization. they'll tell you, no, you don't have access to that table. So that's what we call access, role-based access control. This will help to restrict data access based on job roles. Next is enforce. Oh, all right. So again, it will also enforce the principle of lead privilege to limit access to only necessary data. That's what this does. This access control also does. It only gives you access to a certain range of data. Even if you have access to financial data, you are only giving a limited access to a certain volume of data. So this also helps to regularly review and update access permission to prevent unauthorized access. So a financial analyst access to the finances of a business does not in any way means a permanent access. This access can be revoked at any time. Perhaps when this financial analysis is done, this access could just be revoked. Yes, you're done with your job. So we have the dashboard now. Thank you. We move into another thing, and then this access is taken away from you. This is to protect and control, be able to manage access control to the important data or the company's assets. So another way is another best practices for ensuring data security is encryption method. So what's encryption method? So this is a way of, I have your name here, Ruth. And then we don't want to know that Ruth has £1 million because this is Ruth's money. This is Ruth. Ruth lives in number 1A. Is a female. If we want to control whether Ruth should know, whether this data analyst we don't want the data analyst to know Ruth in person. Use the data to, assess Ruth in person. We can hash this key to be in any format. We can hash it to be in any format. And this is what you will be seeing. And this means Ruth. Don't know it. So this type of access can be used. This type of protection encryption can be used to hash it. Another thing that can happen is this name. This is called anonymization. This name can be changed to John, and instead of saying it's a female, they say it's a male. And when it's changed to John, the address could go to he's living in number 17 or 110 or 1. Not really in that street, in that particular street. It could be in another street, but could also be in the same country. Maybe like 100 kilometers, 100 kilometers far away from 100 kilometers away from anywhere around routes to just go and pick 100 kilometers data from 100 kilometers around, far away from anywhere around routes, be it east, west, north, or south. This way, route data is being protected. So when the data analyst comes, the data analyst is unable to map route to who the owner of this money is. But the data owner actually will know who this person is and will be able to relate to the person. if that makes sense. So this employs employ encryption techniques such as RSA to protect data at rest and in transit. So sometimes your data could also be in transit, moving from one place to the other when you're making that your transaction, when you're trying to make that payment. Encryption is used to protect your data. While it is moving, it's encrypted so that if anybody somehow bypasses it and taps into this data, the transaction, when the person sees it, it's just a bunch of jargons that they will be seeing. They won't be able to make sense out of it. Hence, they won't be able to hack you. So you can also use secure protocols like HTTPS, like you can see on our Prime Software website. We use HTTPS because we use SSL security to safeguard data during transmission over a network. We also implement end-to-end encryption, like I have also explained, for sensitive communication and data storage. All right, we're almost done. Almost there. All right, so the next is threats detection and prevention. Here we can deploy intrusion detection system, IDS, and intrusion prevention system to identify and thwart potential threats. This is not your job as a data professional. This is the job of cybersecurity. They handle this part. So don't worry about that. But this could be part of the data management and governance you want to implement in an organization. Conduct regular vulnerability assessment and penetration testing to uncover and address security weaknesses. Lastly, to implement firewalls, antivirus software, and anti-malware solution to protect against cyber threats. That is it about best practices. Now let's talk about major privacy regulations and implementation. So I have introduced the GDPR before now, but let's quickly talk about it. So GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. It's something you want to implement based on the people. It's not based on where your company is. If your company is in Nigeria, the regulation you want to implement will not just be based in Nigeria. You can actually implement that of Nigeria, but if consumers of your data live in Europe, you have to implement GDPR. If they live in California, you have to implement CCPA. So these are the rules you have to take into cognition when implementing your data governance rules. So that's it in a nutshell. So for GDPR, it requires organizations to obtain explicit consent for data collection and processing. I've explained that with the concept of cookies. So this ensures data subject rights, such as the right to access and erasure, rights to access and erasure, and mandates stringent security measures. So if I say I don't want, so you don't have any right to want to, monitor my transaction. And this also emphasized the need for transparency in data processing and mandates timely breach notification. Whereas the CCPA, on the other hand, grants California residents rights regarding their personal information, including the right to know what the data is collected and how it's used, the right to request deletion, and the right to opt out of the sales of personal information. It requires businesses to provide clear privacy notice and mechanism for consumers to exercise their rights. And I encourage you to read up about GDPR. As a data professional, you need to understand that this environment, the places where you want to practice your career, you need to understand their data protection rule. It is important. Wherever it is, make research about their data protection rule so that you know how to protect them and implement data governance and management. All right. So the last one, consent management and data subject rights. All right, so in consent management, you need to obtain, again, from the GDPR, you need to obtain explicit consent before collecting and processing personal data. So you have seen this over and over, especially for those in the UK here, when they will ask you, is it okay to save your data? Is it okay for me to do this? This is what I want to do. Do you want me to, is it okay for me to do this? If you say yes, they will go ahead and do it. They say it over the phone, they say it everywhere, but they just need to ask you first if you give consent for them to manage your data, hold onto your data, or even access your data. Even if they'll be asking you questions and you are answering them, they still will ask you first, do you want us to in this thing what we're going to do, we're asking you questions, and these questions will require you to give us a certain level of data. And these are the kind of data it's going to give us. You're going to give us when we ask you this question. Do you want us to proceed? Are you happy for us to proceed? You say yes, they will proceed, or no, they should not proceed and they will not proceed. And it is your right. So ensure that. And it also provides, even though you have given your data, you have given consent to your data, you also have the right to say, I am not doing this again. I am opting out. And your data will be erased from the system. It is your right. So ensure individual and data subject right ensure individuals have the right to access their personal data, rectify inaccuracy, and request erasure. Establish process for handling data subjects requests and respond within legally mandated time frame. At this juncture, I drop the pen. Thank you. Question time.